Hello and welcome back to the channel. Well, I have an interesting story that I'm going to be chopping up for you. The man on the screen here, you see very clearly he's a white man, but he says that he's part black and descended from slaves. So I'm going to chop this up and I'm going to share my thoughts on this whole thing. Of course, I want to share the article first before I start the chopping process, okay? So, as the story goes, this man named by the name of Joe Manganiello, on discovering he's part black and descended from slaves. Shocking family revelations are part and parcel of finding your roots. The PBS genealogy show hosted by Harvard academic Henry Louis Gates. Using a mixture of historical research and DNA analysis, the docu-series has taught us that comedian Larry David not only descended from slaves, slave-owning ancestors who fought for the Confederacy, but is also related to the politician he's so gamely portrayed on SNL, Bernie Sanders. Questlove's ancestors came to the U.S. as slaves. On the Clotilda, the last known American slave ship, which operated a half century after the slave trade had supposedly been banned, while Bill Maher is cousins with Bill O'Reilly. Okay? The first two installments of Finding Your Roots, ninth season, divulge the Edward Norton is a direct descendant of Pocahontas. Julia Roberts' real last name isn't Roberts but Mitchell. And Claire Danes' ancestor was branded a witch and hung during the Salem witch trials. But the most eye-opening chapter is set to air on February 9th and features the actor Joe Manganiello of True Blood and Magic Mike fame. So I'm going to chop this up and tell you all what I think of all of this. And I've said it before, but I'm going to say it in this video. So I'm going to kind of stray away from his story. I just read his story and the story of others who's mixed with this and descended from that and all of this. So I'm straying away from his story. So can't nobody say I'm directly talking against this person or whatever. But what I have come to realize, and what many of us already realized a long time ago, is that everybody descended from black folk. How many times have I said that? Remember there was an episode of, was it Jenny Jones or Phil Donahue? I don't remember what talk show it was, but it was a major talk show where there was this guy who couldn't stand black folk. Okay. He didn't like black folk, but when he had a DNA test done, it could have even been the Oprah Winfrey Show, but I'm not sure. I know it was a major network or a major talk show. After having his DNA done, tested, they showed that he descended, or he had some ancestry on the continent of Africa. Okay, I forget which country in Africa. If I'm not mistaken, it could have been Sierra Leone, but he did have some black ancestry. And it trips me out when people act shocked by that there's a drop or a tittle of black blood in you. It trips me out when people are shocked by it, because everybody descended from so-called black people. There is no getting around that. Remember I told you about the Chinese guy, and I'm saying it again. I know it was recently that I mentioned this, but this can kind of corroborate what I'm saying even about situations such as this guy on the screen. Remember the Chinese guy set out to try to prove that he did not descend from black people, that they did not descend from Africa. But he said, in going through the research, it was also determined that he had African blood as well. And so when people say that they descended from slaves or that they have some African blood in them, yeah, of course. Of course. Everyone does. So-called black people are the original people on the planet. But then the human bloodline was infiltrated. I've said that so many times, right? But when I look at stories such as this, it makes me wonder or think about the $5 Indian thing. You know how Right now, there's all this talk, and I'm not talking about this guy specifically, but I'm talking about some people who would try to use this to their benefit, because I saw it happen in Australia. Now, y'all know what the original Australians look like. Truganini was the last full-blooded Aboriginal. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find her image. As a matter of fact, there it is. Right? I want to show y'all something here. Let me show y'all something. They said she was the last full-blooded Aboriginal. Okay. Take a look at Truganini. Look at that. Look at her. Okay. She is the last full-blooded Aboriginal. So as you see, she is very clearly a full-blooded black woman. Am I correct? But the population of Australia has been whited out. So let me show you this. Okay. Okay. Let me show you this. Let's take a look at this now. Let's see what they give us here. So now when you look at some of the Aboriginals, okay, they're calling this an Aboriginal youth. Y'all see what I'm talking about? Well, even with this one right here, it's very, very clear that something has changed in their DNA. Am I correct? But let me go back to the other one that I showed. Where is it? Okay, there it is. So see how they call this an Australia's Aboriginal youth? You see that? Okay. So these are people who have clearly been whited out. And Truganini, let me bring her back. Y'all see that right there? Let me just make sure. Y'all see that right there on the screen. Right there. Okay? Right there. There's some more that they are calling Aboriginal. Okay. Okay, there are some more. Isn't it clear that they have been whited out? Now let's go back to Truganini. So now that they are giving out reparations, okay, let me go back to Truganini. Okay, so the reparations are not going to people that look like this. Y'all see what I'm saying? It's going to people who have been whited out. Do y'all get what I'm saying? And so that's what made me think about this situation here. How people, of course, you can trace your blood back to something black because everybody comes from black. Do you understand what I am saying? Every last white person that is looking at this video, whether you want to believe it or own up to it or not, you got some drips of black in you too. It trips me out how they have the one drop rule that one drop of black blood makes you black. Really? Oh no, that ain't how it works, because everybody has some black blood in them. But they were using that to try to insult us, to try to make it seem like blood had been tainted. You see? Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. This is my thinking on this. Are you going to have a bunch of people coming out of the woodwork saying, look, I can trace my... I actually met a woman, a white woman. I mean, she was clearly a white woman. Clearly, right? She said, my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother had some black in her. She said that to me so she can try to pretend to relate to our people. Notice she said, my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother. She actually said she was a slave and had black in her. So that was a card she was able to pull out. Hey, here's my black card. Although I lived my life as a white woman. She had a white husband, white grandchildren, white children and white grandchildren. Just like this guy, he's a white guy, right? I remember there was a white woman that had wished me Thanksgiving many years ago. And I told her I don't celebrate it. And I explained why, because that was, a tough time for the Native Americans, how they were slaughtered and their lives taken and land stolen and all this kind of stuff. Now, let me describe this white woman for you. She was very, very pale. She had bright blue eyes, long blonde hair, And let me tell you what she said to me when I told her about the Trail of Tears and the suffering of the Native Americans. Let me tell you what she said to me. She said, one of my ancestors was Native American, and she said those white folks took my land. She said it just like that, y'all. Because one of her ancestors, way, 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 way back when, um, slept with a Native American. So again, this is how the $5 Indian came about. This is how people can pull up DNA reports and say, well, I proved that I got this in me, so I should have access to this over here. This is just my take on it. I want you all to share your thoughts. Do you think there's any truth to what I'm saying? Of course, I'm not talking about this guy in particular. I'm just saying in general, because we've seen it happen before. Will people be able to declare that they themselves are a $5 Indian all of a sudden? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, keep it tight and keep it right. But until next time, I'm out.